My best language tip would be to become a fangirl. I learned English. I started off as a massive Michael Jackson fan. Bulgarians in general are very patriotic. You mentioned Bulgaria to Americans and they'll be like, what is that? They don't know what the Balkans are. So like you say Bulgarian and they're like,
do you have internet?
All of the Slavic languages are very patriotic, but I think Bulgaria just takes it to a different level. But I think we can all agree on the fact that all Slavs love to drink. A lot of people, especially apps online, do this. They're pushing FOMO onto you. It's like, if you don't learn this language in 3 months, you're a loser.
Is AI going to steal your job?
AI cannot take everyone's jobs because AI doesn't pay taxes.
That's a very fresh perspective, which I haven't had yet. Maggie, where are you from?
I'm half Polish and half Spanish.
No, you cannot be both. Where are you really from?
Currently, I live in the Czech Republic.
But where did you grow up?
Between the Czech Republic and Bulgaria.
Did you have this experience that when people ask you where are you from, they either ignore one part of your personality, so they completely ignore the Spanish side, but they just treat you as Polish only? Or they stick only to the one part?
Yeah, that really honestly depends on the situation and each person, because everyone's just kind of confused most times. They either think, I present myself as half Polish, half Spanish.
Same.
Grew up in Bulgaria, but I also live in the Czech Republic.
And also in Japan, and also
I also lived in Japan, in the UK, and it just I feel it's more of a matter that people get confused about it and not that they actively try to ignore one part of my nationality, for example. So some people think that I'm more Polish, some people think that I'm more Spanish.
But why is it?
I have no clue. I honestly have no clue. Sometimes I give off a more Polish vibe. Sometimes I give off a more Spanish vibe, Bulgarian. Some people...
Bulgarian around
some people confuse... some people genuinely, I've known them... some people that I've known for years, they still ask me. They're like, oh, wait, your father is Bulgarian, right? I'm like, no. I grew up there, but my dad is Spanish.
I think it's just hard for people to acknowledge that someone can have father from a different country and the mother from a different country.
Yeah,
I have the same thing with Belarus. It's just people just forget and they're there. You speak Russian, and I'm like, no, I don't. Just why? Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying that, because some people I already see in the comments. Because for me, it's like you have to choose one country. You never. You have to just if your father is.
Yeah, and some people, they're like, how can you even have 2 passports? That's not possible. And I'm like,
I think these are Americans that you're talking about.
Yeah. A lot of the times the haters are usually from the States. Okay. Not to generalize, but a lot of the hate comments.
But let's generalize.
Yeah. A lot of the hate will come from Americans who think that it's impossible to learn more than 3 languages.
Amazing. So the goal now is to trick me as much as possible.
Okay.
All of the languages that you speak, the whole pattern, the whole kind of so many of them, please speak first in 3 of them and speak with them maybe in a French accent.
In a French accent.
And I will guess which one you're speaking, and then let's move to the other 3, because I already know from the previous episodes that I won't remember all of them in one go.
Okay.
So let's go French. Oh no, you pick the accent.
Okay, I picked the accent. Yeah. To be fair, just a warning, I'm kind of really bad at doing accents.
That's even better.
I'm sorry if this ends up going terribly, but okay, I'll start. Yore, daijabo, kone doudeska.
What is this accent? Kind of like what? French and Japanese? I have to start guessing also accents, but I know it was Japanese, but which accent were you trying to
I was trying to do the French one, but it went really badly.
Keep going. French.
Yeah, I'll just stick to French.
Norwegian? I don't know, but you don't speak Norwegian.
No. Merkie Prince. Also, uche w училище.
Bulgarian.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Go German accent.
Oof. I don't even speak German.
That's good. That's better.
Ich treu in Un podcast!
That's more like you're singing like a rock.
It's because I listen to Rammstein.
Can you speak Spain normally? Spanish normally?
Sí, puedo hablar en español.
Okay, okay, that was Spanish. Could you? Okay, next next language with whatever accent,
with
or you can
accent.
even,
Sono cresciuta in Polonia e Spagna, ma ora sto in Polonia.
But you spoke Spanish already. It's not It's Portuguese.
No.
Keep going.
Mi piacciono molto I film e mi piacciono mi piace
Italian.
molto. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like once you start mixing like the like same family of languages and you try to do a different accent on them, it kind of sounds like it could be either like Spanish or Italian, but yeah, Italian.
Could you kind of like introduce yourself in Russian, Bulgarian, and Czech and Polish, just so we see the difference between
Russian,
those
Bulgarian,
languages?
Czech, and Polish.
You can just like introduce like, yeah, my name is this, and then next language, not saying the same thing, but like, yeah, and I grew up, whatever, just keep going with the story, but in different languages, just so we can see the difference.
Okay. Cześć, nazywam się Małgosia, a som na pół Polka, na pół Hiszpanka, no живея сега в Прага. Я жила в Праге, но я изучала и русский язык, когда я жила в Болгарии, потому что я там жила 9 года, потому что говорю болгарски. A ještě jo, teďka bydlím v Praze, protože tam pracuji a proto mluvím česky. Bylo by to trapný, kdybych go nemluvila. Všichni v mojí práci mluví česky, takže jo.
Guys, do you see the difference?
Nechtěla jsem se cítit špatně.
Before they say all Slavic languages are the same.
This is very like challenging for the mind, just coming up with like examples of each language.
Could you go Japanese with English? No, it's just the favorite thing to do because I see you guys struggling. Your home, your dad spoke Spanish, mom spoke Polish.
Yes.
Was the house you grew up actually bilingual, or did one language win?
It was actually trilingual because we always had Polish, Spanish, plus the language of the country we lived in. So officially, it was bilingual.
Home.
Yeah, sometimes. It was me and my sisters rebelling.
Okay.
But my parents always had this thing, a very big emphasis on speaking both of the languages in the house. Although Polish was a bit more dominant because me and my sisters spoke Polish together, and we all spoke Polish with my mom. And then we all separately spoke Spanish with my dad. But my dad understands and speaks Polish. My mom understands and speaks Spanish.
So your dad speaks Polish?
Yeah.
Is his Polish good?
Yeah, I would say so. Czech is better, but Polish is still good. And if we're sat on a table all together, he will say something in Spanish. If he's the one speaking, me and my sisters will respond in Spanish. But my mom, for example, will respond in Polish. And then whatever my mom says in Polish, my dad will respond in Spanish. And it's kind of like we all understand each other.
I think it's amazing that your parents learn each other's languages.
Yeah.
Because I noticed in many families when Polish families, they go to the US or to other countries or any other cultures, one language gets neglected a lot.
Yeah.
That's what mom, yeah. I have so many people who are like, yeah, I grew up Australian, but I don't speak Polish. Because my mom is Polish, but she never taught me. How come?
How come? I mean, I don't get it either because when I lived in Bulgaria, for example, I used to go to this Polish Saturday school where it was like...
Even in Bulgaria?
Yeah, it's even in Bulgaria it's a thing. And there was a bunch of like half children, like half Polish, half Bulgarian.
Half children.
Sorry, maybe that wasn't the best. Yeah, like bilingual children from like Bulgarian and Polish families. But they always spoke better Bulgarian than Polish, and they didn't even want to speak Polish because they lived in Bulgaria. Their dad was usually Bulgarian, so the dominant language was Bulgarian, and they only wanted to speak Bulgarian. So I don't know.
So what's their kind of recipe for raising your children just so they speak this language?
I think it's starting from a very early age and starting with the mindset. My dad was very, very, very heavy on the fact that we should all speak Polish, Spanish as our main like native languages, and the third language of the country we lived in. So that would have been Czech and Bulgarian. And what my dad did, like, he wasn't being aggressive about it, but like, if we spoke to him in a language that wasn't Spanish, he would be like, speak to me in Spanish. And he would only ever respond in Spanish to us. And same with my mom. My mom would always respond in Polish to us. And I guess, like, you have to make this dynamic. Because for me, like, when I was a child, I always associated my dad with Spanish. And I associated my mom with Polish. So now if I speak to my dad, it would be so weird to speak to him in Polish, even though he understands Polish. And, like, we speak Polish in the family. But because, like...
And you just switch to Spanish when you're alone? And then when you're in a group, you speak Polish with him?
No, I still speak Spanish to him because to me it's just so weird to like be like, tato, chodź tutaj. It's always like, papi, ven aquí. I don't know. So I guess if my tip to like people who want to raise bilingual, trilingual children is to establish those sorts of differences and associations, because I think then it will be way easier for the child to learn the language. Because what I think a lot of parents do is they just kind of give up and they just speak to the child in the language that they speak to them. Like, you know,
or just English. And if a child doesn't understand, they're like, okay, let's
exactly. They just, I feel like they just give up and they don't give it more, like they don't put in more work. But I think you just have to be very like strict in that matter, because children are like sponges at the end of the day. They'll pick up any language. They just have to get used to it.
So you're a third culture child.
Yes.
What are the biggest struggles of that?
I do have a native language, but not really. Oh. Like, I speak all of these languages, and even, for example, I'm in Poland, which I grew up in, like, I mean, I didn't grow up in Poland, I was born in Poland, and my mom is Polish, so, like, I'm 50% Polish, but, like, almost 100, you know? And I don't feel like...
That's the thing.
Like, I don't really feel like I'm from here, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's like, when I go to my home country, yes. But I go into a shop and sometimes I'm like, wait, I forgot how to say this in Polish. Like, I don't want to feel like a foreigner because I'm not. But at the same time, I'm like...
Then the accent appears and then...
Yeah. To be fair, I don't really have an accent in Polish. Like, people can tell that I'm Polish from the way that I speak. But it's sometimes the way that I phrase things. And they're like... It's more about the phrasing rather than the accent. They're like, what did you say? I have a friend that's Polish. And sometimes we text and I say something that we only use in my family. Because in my family, we also have... certain words that don't make sense anywhere else but in the family from like all the mixed languages. And my friend goes like, what are you saying? Like, this is not Polish. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I forgot.
Is it because you know different and like many languages during your lifetime, or because you started with 3 and you got confused?
Honestly, I don't know. I think it's kind of like the cultural and like language mix that was always in my head. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say I'm super, super confused about it because I can distinguish pretty well now between like languages. And if I speak it on a good level, it usually doesn't get mixed up. But I think it's simply the fact that like I didn't grow up in a household that was 100% Polish or 100% Spanish. Mm-hmm. It was always like mixed plus the culture from outside, which was like school for me.
How did you bring this culture from outside? How did it look like? Because of course these two cultures dominated the household. Yeah. But what about the Bulgarian one, for example?
The Bulgarian one was mainly like taught to me in school. Bulgarian schools are Bulgarians in general are very patriotic. So it was very easy for me to kind of have this Bulgarian culture stick to me. Like even today, like I would never say that I'm Bulgarian because I'm not. But every single time Bulgaria is mentioned or like I have to speak Bulgarian, I'm like, I get so happy. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty much like, it's not my home. It's not my native language. But like whenever I go back, I feel like I'm back home because I spent so many years there. Mm. And I was pretty much raised like a Bulgarian child when I was in Bulgarian school. Because it was, everything was taught in Bulgaria and like Bulgarian mindset, Bulgarian literature, grammar. I spoke Bulgarian better than like Polish, Spanish, and English at one point.
Yeah, it is at some point. I know this feeling. People think that when you speak many languages, or when you grow up, not necessarily speak, but when you grew up with many languages, they magically enter to your head. And you have effortlessly learning, you just, you know, book under my favorite method, book under the pillow, and you just know the language overnight. Is that true for you?
Depends which languages. Okay. If we're speaking about Bulgarian, then yeah, because I was 5 years old when we moved to Bulgaria. So like my parents literally sent me to school 5 months later. It was like I was like a native. you know, because my brain, like, as I said, kids are like sponges. Like, you put them in the environment, like, it's like you drop them in a swimming pool, they don't know how to swim, but they'll learn eventually.
So you learned Bulgarian in 5 months.
Yeah. I mean,
Ridiculous.
I was 5, so it's not really,
Five.
yeah. And it's immersion, like, because you immerse yourself.
Yeah.
At one point, like, a child's brain, it's like they want to mimic whatever they see. And for me and my sisters, that was speaking Bulgarian. I remember we would go back home and we would speak Bulgarian between each other. And my parents would be like, no, like, don't, like, speak, like, in this house we speak Polish or Spanish. And we would just, like, talk in Bulgarian because we would at Bulgarian school all day. So all we knew was Bulgarian and, like, that language. And the same thing happened with me in Czech, because I grew up from the age of, like, when I was like 3 months old, we moved to the Czech Republic and we left to Bulgaria when I was 5. So until that point, I also spoke like fluent Czech because I went to Czech preschool and everything was like taught to me in Czech. So it like before the age of 10, I would say, if you drop a child in like a fully immersed environment of like one specific language, let's say you're moving to Spain and you take your child with you and you just like drop them in a Spanish school, they'll learn in like 2 months.
So we stick to Bulgarian.
Yes.
It's a weird language to learn, and when people hear that you speak it, they probably go, why Bulgarian? Or why would you learn Bulgarian? What are the things that they say to you if they're confused that you speak it?
They're just like, why do you speak Bulgarian? And fluently, that is. They're like, I don't know, like a Bulgarian person comes up to me and they're like, why would you learn Bulgarian? Like, obviously, they're really interested in it. They're like, by curiosity. But at the same time, I guess people are confused and like, they just ask questions because it's such a small country. And I feel like it's not like a very mainstream language per se. Like, you mentioned Bulgaria to Americans. This comes from personal experience. And they'll be like, what is that? They don't know what the Balkans are. So like, you say Bulgarian and they're like,
do you have internet? Do you have hot water in Bulgaria?
Yeah, do you like, actually, do you have computers there? Like, do you have Walmart? Yeah, anyways. But I guess the main, like, because if you tell people I speak fluent French, I speak fluent German, I speak fluent English, I speak fluent Spanish, they don't really bat an eye because they're like the most taught languages in school. So they just assume that you learned it in school and that there's no particularly reason why you speak it.
Yeah.
But then if you say like, oh, I speak fluent Bulgarian, I speak fluent Serbian, Romanian, and if you're not from there, Slovenian, Czech. Like, even for Czech, I get, like, comments, like, why would you learn Czech if you're not Czech?
I mean, Czech got so popular, if I have to be honest.
Really?
So many people I know now speak Czech, or are learning Czech, or are moving to Czech Republic, not even to Poland, but to Czech Republic.
Yeah, it's because Prague has become a hotspot. I live there, and, like, in the past, like, year that I've been there, because I left in 2021, and I've just come back, there's so many like international people right now. Everyone's moving to Prague. I can confirm that there's a lot of people that speak English in the city center, and that's why the job market is also kind of like not collapsing. I mean, it's still fairly easy to find a job in the Czech Republic and like in Prague specifically because you got so many like bar jobs.
Yeah.
But I used to work in an Irish pub, and everyone that worked with me was from like a different country. No one spoke Czech, not even the owners.
And there are definitely huge cultural differences, because when people think Slavic countries, when people think Balkan countries, we have things that are in common, a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I would say that Bulgarian culture, Polish culture, even Czech culture, they are different.
I agree. In Bulgaria, I feel like the folklore that they teach you about is so much like stronger
In Bulgaria,
yeah. We have so many connections, for example, well, not we, because I'm not Bulgarian, but there's so many connections to like Greece, Turkey. Mm-hmm. It really depends on the region you go to. And yeah, I guess, I don't know, they are kind of the same in terms of like, for example, the Polish, like I grew up as well, like very patriotic in terms of like, oh, my like not loyalty to Poland, but like,
yeah, I understand.
You know what I mean? Like we're taught to like, how was the one like, there's this like poetry, like this poem about like.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I won't come.
Yeah, like, you know, we have the typical poem that's like very patriotic, and we had it in in Polish school and also in Bulgarian school. So like I guess all of the Slavic languages are very patriotic, but I think Bulgaria just takes it to a different level. And for example, like food wise, also very different. In Poland, I feel like Polish, szopska sałata, banica, ayran, all of those dishes are closer to like Greece and Turkey. And in like Upper Slavic, as I call them, because they're like
Upper
up there.
Slavic, because they're here and we're there.
Yeah, yeah. It's more like barsht, pierogi, like, and all of those dishes are similar. For example, across Russia, Ukraine,
because
Poland,
these are South Slavs, I think. And then
exactly.
there's Balkan, whatever.
And then there's Balkans. The Czechs are kind of like in the middle of it. I feel like they don't really fit with the like either Polish or Balkan. Like the cuisine,
there are a few things.
The cuisine is very, very different.
True.
But I think we can all agree on the fact that all Slavs love to drink. And they all have like their own like
rakia, pivo.
Yeah, like their own like alcohol of choice. Like rakia, pivo, vodka.
Let's move to hot shots.
Okay.
So, speaking perfectly but sounding emotionally cold, or making mistakes but sounding warm and natural.
Making mistakes, definitely.
Forgetting Polish or forgetting Spanish?
Forgetting Spanish.
Why?
Because it would be easier to learn again, like from scratch.
Because it's an easier language?
Yes.
She said that, not me.
I personally think so.
Okay. You'll elaborate on that.
Yeah.
Forgetting vocabulary every 5 seconds or forgetting grammar every 5 seconds?
Forgetting grammar.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense because you can just be only with vocabulary. Speaking every language at B2 or one language at absolute native level?
Speaking many languages at B2.
Why?
I feel like it's just more interesting. You can still get... You're not going to be perfect, but you can... B2 still allows you to communicate fairly well, and you'll be able to communicate everywhere you go in the world.
Learning a language with a terrible teacher or learning completely alone forever?
Alone. I mean, if you have a terrible teacher, I feel like that's one of the cases that a lot of people have in high school, for example, or middle school. They don't like their teacher, so that they start hating the subject, and therefore their will to learn the language completely disappears. And I feel like if you just learn on your own, you find little things that like make you want to learn the language just because of the fact that you want to learn it and no one's forcing you to do so. So I feel like a terrible teacher is always like a bad case scenario, no matter the subject. Because if you have a bad math teacher, you're never going to want to learn math again.
That's why I stopped learning Turkish. Being able to understand every Slavic language or every Romance language?
Ooh, Romance, I think. They're more spread out across the world.
Oh yeah, that's true. And then with every Slavic language, who's gonna understand you?
Yeah, Slavic is mainly Europe and some of Asia.
Dating someone who switches languages mid-argument or someone who refuses to learn your language at all?
Option 1.
Why? What if you don't understand? What if it's Korean?
It's more fun, I feel like. I think it's more fun.
At least you don't stress because you don't understand.
Yeah, I think just not wanting to learn my language is kind of like already like a red flag. Like, for example, my boyfriend is French and he's been trying to learn Polish. So that's like already a very big plus for me. And I already speak French. So like if I was, for example, dating an English guy and he wouldn't want to pick up Polish, I would be like, yeah, but I speak your language and you have zero interest in learning mine. So like,
it's a no for me.
It's a no for me.
Amazing. You brought me perfectly to my next point. Let's go a bit more technical. What is the maintenance routine for each language? You have a French boyfriend. You speak with your grandma in Spanish, with your dad in Spanish, with someone in Bulgarian, then also in this, then suddenly Japanese appears. How do you maintain all of them?
It's a bit tricky, especially like with work and stuff, but I feel like most of the maintenance routine just comes from like my daily life itself.
Yeah.
It doesn't require a lot of effort for me to maintain Polish, Spanish, French, and Czech, simply because French boyfriend, like parents, and then work. I speak like with everyone in Czech. Then for Bulgarian, for example, I still have friends which I stay in touch with sometimes, and I speak to them, or I watch content in Bulgarian. I love Bulgarian YouTube. If
You need to send me. You need to send me.
Yeah, it's, but yeah, I think Bulgarian doesn't really need that much maintenance because I lived 9 years in Bulgaria. It's a language that's always going to be engraved in me.
You think so?
I think so. I think because I was so small when I learned it and I left at 14, all of my like serious years of development, I spent them in Bulgaria. So it's kind of like saying that I would forget Polish, you know what I mean? It's like I would never forget Polish. It would just, if I don't speak it for a while, like, yeah, some words get lost. I forget like a grammatical structure because it gets like tangled with all of the other Slavic languages. But essentially forgetting Bulgarian, I think would be impossible.
So let's say now you're C1. Could you drop to A2?
No.
To B1?
I don't know.
So you think what is the level kind of?
I feel like for Bulgarian, I'm still at the same level that I was when I left.
Okay.
And I think this goes for saying for anyone who like learned to speak a language to like a C, let's say C1, C2 native-ish level. I think if you grow up in a country and speak the language there, you're never going to be able to forget it. I think it's just something, it's like the same way that I speak Spanish, but like I don't speak it every day because I don't, for example, I don't live with my parents. So I don't have that like strong of a connection with the language anymore. But every single time I come back to Spain and like speak Spanish for 2 weeks, it just comes back.
What if you haven't spoken, I don't know, Bulgarian for a year?
I did that, and I like it got a bit rusty. Like sometimes my vocabulary would slip, but now I have a Bulgarian friend which lives in Prague, and we go out sometimes. So my vocabulary just kind of like picked itself up, and like the grammar picked itself up. So it kind of like happens naturally. Like obviously, if you don't maintain any language, it will like get rusty. But I don't think it's possible to like completely forget it and to drop to a level as low as A2 or A1. Because you can always like remember it. I think that only happens, for example, ever since graduating university, I haven't been too good at like maintaining my Japanese, for example. And I noticed that like the grammar started fading away and like the words started fading away, the kanji started fading away because it's a language that I picked up when I was 18. So obviously, so obviously if you like pick up a language when you're older and it's not a language that you've known for so many years and you don't maintain it, it starts like fading away. It's the same with me for Russian and Italian. They're languages that I like, that I've learned like earlier when I was younger, but I don't have any use for them in my day-to-day life. So they're kind of just sat there like in the back of the closet. Yeah. And if you told me now like, oh, do a conversation in Italian or do a conversation in Russian, I would be like, oh, hold on. Like,
what would I have to have done that you would, for you to feel comfortable to speak them after the break, so let's take on Russian or Japanese.
Yeah. So if you told me we would be speaking Japanese during this podcast, I would just spend the week before just immersing myself again, like going over like the grammar points that I studied before, just kind of like listening to the language, kind of getting it back to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When it's like not being used, it's like with any skill you have. If you like, I don't know, you go to the gym for a year and then you stop, like obviously your muscles are not gonna maintain themselves. You need to go and like lift some weights for them to like not forget that like, oh, we're buff, you know. Like I mean, you're not gonna lose all of your muscle mass, but it's gonna like the amount of weights that you can pick up is gonna drastically go down. Like not drastically, but you'll feel weaker. It's the same for with language learning and speaking. If you don't speak the language, if you don't have a use for it for your daily life, you're going like it's gonna fade away. And that's why it's important to kind of set little habits for like in my routine, to set little habits for each language so that it's still present even if it's only once a week.
What are the habits?
So I now have a tutor for Japanese, which I speak to every week.
Once a week?
Yeah, once a week. For Italian, I also started doing some Italian lessons with Lingoda. But it's small habits, usually reading a book. For Japanese, for example, if I don't feel like revising the grammar and like doing like heavy study sessions, I just put an anime that I've already seen that I already like with like the Japanese subtitles below it so that I can like listen what they're saying and see how it's being read, like how the kanjis are being read in the text below. It's like easy habits that don't discourage you from like keeping up the language, that don't feel like it's a task. True. It rather just feels like a natural thing that you would do in your routine. For example, one of the ways in which I picked up my Bulgarian, because I spent 3 years in the UK without speaking any Bulgarian, obviously, because like I had no use for it. Yeah. So I just set my phone to Bulgarian, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna set my phone to Bulgarian and pick up on like the vocabulary that I lost there. And you know what? It worked, because at the beginning I was like, wait, like it's not that I forget how to read. It's like when you don't read in a like when you don't use the language, obviously you're not gonna read in it. So I was there like, wait, let me just read like this word. Like, what does this mean? And now I just look at my phone like as if it was in English, because it's like it comes so easy to me to like read the Bulgarian again.
So even if it's a minor change, do it.
Yeah, even if it's a minor change, it makes a difference. A lot of people think that they have to go full in, like go big or go home, but that doesn't work, because if you're like, okay, I'm gonna study 2 hours Japanese per day, you're not gonna stick to it.
But people say that. Many people, it's not that I agree or disagree, but people say if you want to speak a language, let's say from zero, now I'm whatever years old, and and I want to start learning, I don't know, Korean. I need 3 hours per day, every day.
No. I think that's a highway to burnout, in my opinion. I think you should have like those intensive classes and intensive lessons if you want to pick it up like the fastest way possible. Yeah, there's some people that will stick to like 3 hours per day. But I think that's unrealistic for most people. One, because a lot of people work. A lot of people go to school. A lot of people have other engagements, other hobbies. Not everyone can allow themselves to like do 3 hours every single day without feeling tired, without feeling overwhelmed. I think if you want to really learn a language and enjoy the process and not kind of burn out and stop completely, you have to have a balance of both. You need to have the intensive classes. Like, yes, you're going to spend days where you study 3 hours per day, because it is like Korean, it's a difficult language, so you do have to spend the time and take the time to understand everything thoroughly. But you're not gonna like, you also need days where you do activities that you like, like just incorporate small habits. Like even 10 minutes a day can make the difference, because if you set like mentally, if you set yourself a habit of 5 minutes per day, it's going to be more successful than 3 hours per day, because people often seem to forget that the important thing is to get better 1% every day. I don't know if you've read James Clear's book, Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
It's what he says in the book, and I think it's really important to apply that to languages as well. If you go big or go home, I think it ends up being like
you'll burn out quickly.
Any skill. Like if you don't go to the gym and you suddenly tell yourself, okay, I'm going to go to the gym every single day for like 2 hours, it's not going to happen. You need to start small. And you need to you need to build it up and like build your custom to do it. Because if you're not used to studying 3 hours a day, that's just like a road to failure if you just like spawn and like start studying. Because one, you probably don't know what you're doing, and two, it's too intense and too overwhelming.
That's a very fresh perspective, which I haven't had yet.
Really? I feel like,
I mean, everyone says that you should enjoy the language, but I don't know.
I have a very like Zen mindset about this. I used to be like very intense about it as well, and I thought I wouldn't be able to learn a language unless I spent so much like time grinding on it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of toxic. You don't need to do that. Like, we have all the time in the world. Why would you rush something like this? I feel like this is maybe a bit controversial, but a lot of people, especially apps online, do this to kind of like, they're pushing FOMO onto you. It's like, oh, if you don't learn this language in 3 months, you're a loser. I feel like that's kind of the mentality these days.
Maybe for some apps.
You know what I mean? It's like these people, like a lot of people say on the internet, oh, I learned the language in like 3 months or 4 months.
24 hours.
In 24 hours. And like, yeah, it's possible if you like do those 3 hours per day. But the problem is that it's not realistic for most people. And I think selling this mindset is kind of toxic. I mean, obviously, if you're like highly ambitious, I respect it.
Yeah.
But for a person like me that gets like easily overwhelmed, easily stressed out, has other things in my life going on except for languages, the approach of doing a little bit every day is way more sustainable because people just don't see the bigger picture. If you do a little bit every day for 5 years, it's going to pay off, like no matter what. And you don't need to be perfect in 5 months.
You don't need to be perfect at all.
Exactly, you don't need to be perfect at all.
Unless you're presenting something on a professional level.
Yeah, unless you're like...
Not even.
Cambridge PhD. Like, even then, you don't have to be perfect. Yeah.
Because even native speakers, they do so many mistakes.
Yeah. Even interpreters make mistakes. During my interpreting classes, the teacher was always like, you don't need to have perfect vocabulary. You just, as long as the point gets across, you've done your job. Because that's like... Language is like... It's never going to be 100% accurate because we as humans are not 100% perfect. I think the most important thing about languages and like language learning is getting the meaning across. And then like everything else, grammar, vocabulary. Vocabulary, I feel like it's important, yeah. Grammar, you don't necessarily need perfect grammar to be understood, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but some people say you only need grammar.
No. I mean, like, you do need grammar. You do need a basic understanding because you're not going to speak a language if you don't understand grammar on a basic level.
Just,
like,
hi,
me, Maggie,
rug,
sitting,
cup,
podcast.
Yeah, they would understand.
Yeah. I mean, like, you could get your point across, but obviously you need grammar. I'm not saying, like, ditch grammar. You still need to learn it. But there's more important things, which I think is, for example, speaking to people and making connections. Because that's... Like, why would you learn a language if you're not going to go out and speak to people and, like, enjoy the language?
Quick challenge for you. Instead of the opposition, I would love to argue with you. We can do it in our private lives. But now, guess the language. I will read to you languages that you speak or you don't speak, and you just have to guess. I will make it as difficult for you as possible. Ready?
Damn. Mm-hmm.
Mofuzia come zdale već paulet sun kong balon. La marine est dit qu'elle a legal. Les pulgam.
French?
Yes. What did I even say? Okay.
I don't understand what you said, but
Let's keep going. Kcią de paro unitari credo zenzenani ma che me sende shita. Demok sushi threw me up. Okay, next one. Did you know this one?
Japanese.
Amazing. Next one. YouTube sarami. Bal kanagami arel curie ro harasayo.
Ooh.
Modown sarami. Isargana de la Siganek Haseri Monster Berlin Soyo. They will kill me.
Spanish?
Spanish! It's Korean!
I thought Korean, but I don't speak Korean. That's why I got confused.
That's the best. Then, ko zia so serne. Euda shinistao. Sushat kamave jnemosh levers the pajam.
You sound like a Sims character.
Sam devoted status dent. Ko na dia udajspi.
I want to say Portuguese. No.
Girl, you don't know your language? It was Polish.
I was like between Polish and then you said something that was like, wait, this sounds like Portuguese.
Let's go. Včera. It could be either one of those two.
Yeah.
Ušla magazine zabila loboka pelep. I also insert some words. Parom. Ravernulas damar. I parolachto stavila telefonu frakcji. Era bola han plahaden.
I want to say, it's a Slavic for sure.
Uh-huh.
Russian?
It's Russian.
Yeah.
Meu vicino decidir curvar varana. Todo mundo acha estranho, mas a coleira for incrível. Agora ela vende para os vizinhos de andar.
Italian?
No.
Or Spanish?
No. Dizem que não são mais gostosas do que a supermercado.
Portuguese.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was like, it's either Portuguese, Italian, or Spanish.
Okay, last one. Cum balcone raparares e chumera carar verde. Herkish. Benoon garbalrum.
I feel like I'm in The Sims.
Du sundu ama hasar mukermelde. Shimdon larkalagi come shurla saturo. Probably even native people of this country won't understand me because it's so hard. Markeren da halazeri olgun duyuyorlar.
It's not Italian.
Balkonuda patates. Yetişmeye karar verdi. Herkes bunun garip olduğunu bildirir ama hasat mükemmeldi.
Is it like a Balkan language?
No.
No.
Şimdi onları katak. Komşulara satıyor. Oh, that's easy. That was easy. It's easy.
Wait.
Turkish.
I said, was it a Balkan language?
Is it? But okay.
Turkey is.
Listen,
in
it's
the
not. Then last. Okay, this is the last one. Mia. Abola para flamenco is nada. Dale mesmo durante treza. No geral, que veio porque todos têm a medo. El gato também morava em silêncio. Al final aplaudimos todos.
Spanish.
Yes. I thought that would trick you. Wow.
No,
Okay.
the last like sentence.
Toto.
Totos.
Is AI going to steal your job? You've been a
No.
translator.
No. What I think is going to happen is businesses will not be willing to spend extra money on an actual translator. However, I think it is still a huge milestone for AI to make to replace actual like interpreters and translators who translate important documents, you know what I mean? Like in Polish I would say przysięgłe.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know how the word is for English. But what AI doesn't understand is a lot of cultural nuances and like it doesn't know how to do localization, for example. Like it doesn't understand the concept of localization.
It takes it from
adapt.
people.
Yeah,
from
it
what
takes it
people
from
bring.
people, from what people are saying, but it's never going to be like 100% accurate. Like there's it still makes mistakes.
True.
And still a lot of mistakes. And even when people do translate stuff with AI, they still have proofreaders who correct it, like specialized translators or like specialized proofreaders who are bilingual, just to make sure that the AI doesn't make mistakes. So what I think is going to happen is, as with everything else, because I feel like AI is taking away jobs from everyone, not just translators and like language students.
It gets
people.
stuck at the beginning when it comes to languages. Why would you learn? Everyone speaks English, but AI is going to take your job. But
But it's taking everyone's job. But I think that at the end of the day, AI cannot take everyone's jobs because AI doesn't pay taxes.
And doesn't have a brain.
Exactly. So I think it's kind of like, it's a bit of a fear-mongering situation.
True.
But because I don't think it's ever going to be the same as an actual human interpreter, human translator. I don't think institutions like the EU or the UN are ever going to replace their actual interpreters by AI robots. But I mean, you never know.
The last guest left her best language learning method.
Okay.
Which is watching the Peppa Pig cartoon.
Actually, I think it's a good tip, watching Peppa Pig, because it's easy to understand in any language that you watch it. It's a kids show, and I think this goes for any kids show. So I do agree with that. My best language tip would be to become a fangirl. Unlock your fangirl side of things, because you may laugh at this.
Yeah, I mean,
but
I know where you're going to.
I learned English simply because of obsessing over like pop culture things.
Justin Bieber.
No. Okay. Do you see what I'm wearing?
Yeah, you could be a fan of anyone.
Okay, so this is very like niche. Some may understand, some may not. But I started off as a massive Michael Jackson fan. And already like I would translate the lyrics of what he was saying. I was like, Mom, what is he singing about? That type of thing. I would read every single interview that I saw. I would watch every single like documentary on YouTube. I would watch every single like interview. So I would like start picking up like English words from interviews, articles. Then I got really into like 80s pop culture, like specifically like the American and British side. I was so obsessed with watching 80s movies, like John Hughes, Steven Spielberg. My room is full of like old CDs, DVDs of like those movies,
like a
music.
Fun girl.
Yeah,
who everyone
like
hates,
I was
you just go Michael Jackson full on.
Exactly, like just find something from the target language that you want to speak. Find something to obsess over. Like for example, I struggled with learning Japanese until I started liking anime and manga, because it's something more that motivates you to want to learn the language and understand like not just the language, but culturally, like what it's about. When I was younger, I bought a book like this. It's literally a brick about British 80s, like new romantics, like the new romantic style, the music, like how this entire like subgenre evolved, the history behind it. Like I'm talking about David Bowie, Boy George, Duran Duran, a lot of very niche topics in here. But I think you get my point.
You need to be a fangirl.
You need to be a fangirl, and like I think the process is so much easier because a lot of the times if you, for example, find a Japanese band, find a Spanish band, there's not many like articles about them in English because no one, like, they're not known on a global scale. So if you find someone like this that you're passionate about, or like a movie that you're passionate about, a series that you're passionate about, I think it's so much easier to get into like learning the language in order to be able to understand what they're saying through their music, or watch the movies in their original voiceover, not just the dubbed version or like subtitles. I think it's way cooler to just watch everything like in its original like form and to be able to understand it.
Let's take a picture.
Amazing.